Hello, friends. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Michelle Fondin. I'm the author of Twin Flame Romance, The Journey to Unconditional Love. I'm also the author of Twin Flame Union, 7 Keys to a Healthy Twin Flame Journey. All of my published books are available on Amazon. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for subscribing below. Click on the bell, scroll up to all for all notifications, and thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. I do tarot and astrology readings. You can book that at my website, michellefondinauthor.com. Welcome to a series that I haven't done in quite some time. And that series is called Twin Flame Guidance. And today's topic is the Twin Flame check-in. Okay, we're gonna talk all about the Twin Flame check-in, what it's about, if you check in or if your Twin Flame checks in. We're going to demystify this and the meaning behind it. So if you are interested, please do stay tuned. Twin Flame check-in, what in the world does that mean? I think you know what that means, Twin Flame. You know exactly what that means. It means that you are in some sort of separation from your twin flame, or maybe you are in the on again, off again twin flame connection. And I've done tons of videos on twin flame separation, twin flame on again, off again, which I'll post a couple right here. There's also a twin flame guidance playlist, which I will post at the end of this video. Twin flame check-in. You are in some sort of separation, whether it's total separation or on again, off again, and ping, your phone dings, and lo and behold, it's your twin flame. If it is coming from your twin flame, oftentimes you're totally elated and surprised and over the moon happy. Oh my gosh, my twin flame hasn't forgotten about me, because in those long periods of separation, it can feel like they've actually forgotten about you, which they haven't, but it can feel like that. And so what happens to you when you receive this check-in? It's often like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. They haven't forgotten about me. And we're going to talk about that piece, okay? And we're also going to talk about the opposite, is when you check in with your twin flame after a period of separation. Let's talk about the twin flames check-in, the other person's check-in first. The other person's check-in is sometimes a good thing, and it's sometimes what I refer to as breadcrumbing. It's when they have you on the hook. They don't want to let you go off the hook, and they have you on the hook, and they re-hook you by this check-in. Sometimes the twin flame check-in is a simple like, hey, or what's up, or hey, how are you? How are you doing? And my favorite that has happened to me in the past, how are you doing, friend? And so this twin flame check-in is usually something that they need to keep you on the hook, meaning they want to make sure you're still there in some way, shape, or form. Usually this twin flame check-in is just a few minor exchanges. So you might respond, and then they respond with 1 or 2 words. You might respond with a whole bunch of words, and then they respond with 1 or 2 words. Then you respond with a whole bunch of words and questions, and then they disappear. So that is the classic twin flame check-in. That is classic. They disappear, they go dormant for another 4 months, 6 months, or a year. The next piece of that would be maybe the twin flame check-in where there are some exchanges, maybe a phone call, and a setup for some sort of rendezvous or date. So that type of twin flame check-in really appears to be more promising, because there is this promise of us seeing each other, for example, or getting together. And then when the date comes, it never happens. They disappear, it doesn't happen, or they bow out or back out or make some type of excuse. Now let's reverse that with your check-in, with your twin flame. So your check-in could be similar, like, hi, how are you? Or if it's an occasion, happy birthday, Merry Christmas, Happy Thanksgiving, whatever the case may be. So your check-in is also that. It's to try to see if they haven't forgotten about you, if they've blocked you, if they're gonna still ghost you, if they still care about you. So usually there is some sort of agenda behind it. And what I always say is, it's fine to contact your twin flame. It's totally fine as long as you don't have an agenda attached to it. Because when you attach your ego agenda to that text message or call or email or whatever it happens to be, then there is some sort of expectation of reciprocity. And then when that doesn't happen, or if it falls short of your expectations, that's when you get incredibly disappointed and angry and upset and wonder, like, why don't they like me? Or why don't they feel what I feel? So if your check-in with your person is just simply like, I want to see if they're still there, or I kind of do want to see if I'm blocked, and you don't really care if you get a response, or if you get a response, you know it's going to be a shortened response, then you're fine with that. That's okay. But let's talk a little deeper. Let's talk about what the twin flame check-in is really about for you. For you as the more awakened one. And I know you are the more awakened one because you're watching this video. If you are not the more awakened of the two twins, then that means you wouldn't even be interested in this video. But since you are the more awakened one, we're gonna dig deeper, because we're gonna go into what this truly means. What does this really, really mean? What it really means is it's a check-in to see where your person is at in their development, growth, their maturity, and their spirituality. The twin flame journey is a journey, just as my book suggests. Twin flame romance, the journey to unconditional love, which is a journey, it's a pathway. It's not a start and stop. There's no finish line. We're constantly growing, developing, ascending into higher states of consciousness. We are constantly learning about ourselves. We are healing, we're growing, and the whole reason we're here is to learn and grow. If you do a check-in with your twin flame, or your twin flame does a check-in with you, it's an assessment as to where they're at. If they are truly still in their ego and they really just want to keep you on the hook in some way, shape, or form, then that interaction is going to be like that first one that I described, which is really like, hey, how are you? Hey, what's up? And then after the first few lines, it just fizzles out into nothingness. So then you know they're kind of like where you left them. In the same vein, if the check-in comes from your twin flame or comes from you, and the conversation goes towards sexuality, goes toward like, send me some pictures, send me some interesting pictures, or let's get together for a hookup, then you know that they have not matured beyond their ego into unconditional love, because they're not interested in anything more with the substance of the connection. They just want a part of it. They just want the easiest part of it for them. And that's that non-emotional investment in you. And obviously it's the non-emotional investment in themselves as well. So you know they haven't really gone that far on the spiritual journey if that's what they're asking for during the check-in. Now, if they're really inquiring more from you about how have you been? What are you doing? What are you interested in? What have you been reading? And they're really interested in your life and what you have been doing, then you know there's a little more progression there, that they're starting to get out of their ego-centeredness. They're getting out of their personal interests and into yours. And that's how you can truly tell if there has been an evolution there, if there's been some sort of awakening there, if there's a recognition that, hey, I'm kind of feeling that this connection is something more, and I'm willing to take a look at this, or I'm willing to meet and have a conversation about this. So this is really a gauge for you. So honestly, I wouldn't look at it as a failure if they are really trying to keep you on the hook, or if they are breadcrumbing you with this check-in. So don't look at that as a failure. Look at that as a barometer. It's like taking a temperature, knowing, has the temperature gotten warmer or is it still cold? And that's all that it is. Just don't even get too excited and don't get too disheartened. Just say, okay, if my twin flame is just saying, hey, and that's basically it, then that just means that they're pretty much where I left them in their development. If they're wanting to have a freebie as far as something sexual, then I pretty much know that they're still remaining where I left them. But if they're really inquiring about so much more and getting deeper and more emotionally connected to you, then you know that they're on the pathway. They've chosen the pathway of growth with you on this twin flame journey. So that is all. Just look at the check-in as a check-in. That's all that it is. And in the beginning days of my twin flame journey, when my twin flame would do the check-ins and was clearly breadcrumbing me, even though I didn't want to believe it at the time. I truly did not want to believe it. But he was breadcrumbing me and was doing that for years. In the beginning, I would get super excited because of that separation that led to the reconnection. I was like, oh my God, he hasn't forgotten about me. And I got overly zealous, overly excited, and I really wasn't reading into what he was messaging me with. And when it came to the point at which it was just really superficial, sometimes it wasn't superficial, but then he gets scared and go back to the superficial. When he went back to the superficial, then I was so disappointed. I was really brokenhearted and really, really disappointed. And sometimes I would even get angry. And now I just look at the check-in is a check-in. It's for you to see where they're at in their personal development. And sometimes, I would say all the time, it's really for you to see where you are on your personal development with the twin flame journey, where you're at on the journey, how you are mitigating your own emotions, how you are having self-love versus wanting them at all costs, how you have let go of the obsession and are working more on self-care. So the check-in is also for you. And it's also for them to see how far you have come. So if you guys were kind of on par with being wrapped up in a lot of your wounds or a lot of your triggers, or a lot of your ego-based consciousness, it is also a mutual check-in. Just look at it as that. Don't get too wrapped up in it. And I believe you will have a better journey as a part of this. Because if you are looking at the check-in for what it is, then when they are ready to not text you anymore, or not message you anymore, or not email you or call you anymore, then you are in the point of surrender, where you're like, okay, this was a blessing. I got to check in with my twin flame, but now they're going along their merry way because they're not ready. So thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for this check-in. So, and you might not want to say that to your twin flame, but you would say that to source, to God, to spirit, to your angels. Say that, thank you. Because now I know where they're at, and I also know where I'm at. And so that's a blessing. That is a blessing. And it's also a blessing to not allow yourself to be breadcrumbed, but that's for a totally other video. So I hope this was helpful, twin flame. I want to thank you so much for joining me here today. Thank you for subscribing to my channel below. Click on the bell, scroll up to all for all notifications. Thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. Thank you for sharing this video with other twin flames. And thank you so much for your support of my YouTube channel. You can purchase one of my 11 published books. You can book a reading with me, and I will see you in the next video.